In this video, voguebrunette gets mentored by Reverse Polarity and Madison Hatter 2 as part of her series of learning how to make a UGC catalog for the first time. They'll review her work and what she was able to make so far on her own, and then give their perspective and advice as experts. This VOD is mostly uncut, to give you a glimpse into what it's really like to get help and ask questions as a total beginner. To see voguebrunette's vlog of her journey as she tries to learn UGC on her own, check out the link in the description.
This is my mood board. So I would try to keep it to like more simple flowers. So like, you know, the Hawaiian flower that has like 5 petals, looks super like vibrant and colorful for summer. And then I was like, oh, like a flower crown. Like how hard could that be?
Yeah, that's super pretty. I love all of those and the shapes of those. One thing that can be helpful for looking up reference pictures is to reverse image search because for like, yeah, you could like take a screenshot of that flower that you like and look, you know, reverse image search, and then you'll get, you know, it'll probably come up with the name of the flower.
Okay, so I would love to show you my next reference photo for my mood board, and you guys will see that they all kind of connect because I was thinking of like summer as the inspiration for all 3 pieces to kind of go together. Can you guys see the necklace next?
Oh yeah.
Yay!
That's gorgeous.
So it's like very like beachy, like pearls, natural stones, and I really wanted like a heart on there, just because that's really trending in fashion right now. So I don't know if we can do the transparency in Blender. I'm really entirely not sure how this is going to work out.
Well, the pearl necklace is really an exciting one for somebody who's like starting and then going into more intermediate challenges, because we're gonna have to do some things with like curves and stuff.
Okay.
But it's a great opportunity to learn. And then as far as the transparency or the shininess, I think we can get a lot of that out of the texture.
All right, there's my flower that kind of looks like a flower.
From that, Reverse, Madison, assess, grade, critique, roast.
Grade me.
Go ahead.
Well, I have to say, everybody starts out somewhere. Learning Blender is a real challenge, especially because most of your time at the beginning is like learning the interface. So it's cool to see you learn this from scratch. Because Blender is a real challenge. For fun, I brought up my very first model that I ever made. It was rough back in the day. So, but for a start, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. There's lots of things we're going to have to keep in mind if we want to bring this to the Roblox platform. And one thing I should say is don't get discouraged if you have to do this over a couple more times, because this is still true for me, even though I've been doing art for like 10 years. I start over things all the time. I want to show you what step-to-step process I would take to make something like that, to maybe kind of give you an idea of where my head's at when I'm making a flower.
Yes.
So I don't have my screen key captures, so I'll just narrate what I'm doing here. So for starters, I am going to add in a sphere just like you did. Now, we won't worry about triangle count right now, but it's something we're going to have to worry about at some point. And then you wanted to remove the bottom half.
Yeah.
Something that you can do to make that easier is there are hotkeys for the camera, and I believe that they are like Control 1, 2, 3, 4. I've rebound them, but I think that's what they should be. Maybe Madison can test on hers and tell me. But anyways, you can select camera views that are like specific angles. So now I know I'm like dead on here. I can hit the Z button to go into wireframe, and that'll let me select all of the faces, not just the front ones. So I can go in, I can select them all, and I can delete them with the X key.
Oh.
So now you got your half sphere that you wanted. And then for the flower petals, I'm going to go to the top-down view, and I'm actually going to start with a plane. This is especially going to be true when you get to like the final version, but you're going to want your flower petals to be like the lowest amount of triangles as possible, because they're going to take up a lot of your budget. So I like to start with flowers with just like a really basic shape, something like that. And then we'll come to the side angle here. We've selected the middle part. We'll come to the side angle. We'll give it a little bit of shape here. Now it's got a little bit of depth. And then we can slap on that subdivision modifier if we want to give it a little more curviness. Auto smooth for the shading. And then now we have our flower petal. Now, a step that I would take here, always, if I'm working on flowers, is actually to unwrap this right now. Because if you do it later, it's going to be more of a pain. So I'm going to go over to, in my case, compositing, but I don't know what the default looks like. And I'm just going to project that from view. And since we're looking at it from top down, it'll be just like this.
Okay.
And we'll just not worry about that now. We don't have to worry about it. We'll get back to that when we get to texturing. Anyways, now we have our flower. And we can go to, what we want to do is we want to rotate it around the middle part. So there's two ways of doing that. Either you can set it to 3D cursor if your 3D cursor is in the middle, or whenever you're moving anything or rotating anything, you can hit the rotate key, and then you can hit Z, X, or Y to rotate it on the different axes. Axes? You're asking why it is that it's a little more boxy.
Yeah.
Because we haven't applied the subdivision modifier, its geometry is the geometry you see here. Once we apply that later on in the process, it'll look different. Okay. Generally, this is still fine, but if you wanted it to later on look more like that, you can always come in and edit the UVs. But when I'm modeling, basically, here's my thought process. If I can unwrap something before we get to the final stages, that's a good thing to do. Not everything will be easy to unwrap as you go along, but if you can do it, then that's great, because you'll notice when we duplicate these and use the Z key to rotate it around the flower. And you can position these however you want. I actually like to give it like an organic feel. Some people will go like specifically, they'll hit RZ and they'll type in like 45 to get a 45-degree angle. I like to just do it manually. I think it looks more natural that way. But if we go in here and we select all of these, you can see they're all on the same UV, which means when we texture it, we can like paint one petal and it'll paint all of them.
Oh, okay. And then, so you clicked Z to rotate the petal. I was using R. Does Z keep it centered?
So after you hit the R key, R is for rotate in this case. After you hit the R key, you can hit Z or Y or X to restrict it to rotating. Yep, exactly. Because I noticed on yours, like it kind of got a little like you were rotating it and your camera angle was making it look a little off. Like if you rotate around your scene, you can see that it's not like perfectly on the plane. Yeah. Whereas like with mine, if we select everything and hit tab, you can see these are all on the same level.
Oh, got it. Okay, so the Z, X, or Y would keep you within that plane.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know.
Super useful. So yeah, and that's why I recommend for anyone who's learning Blender, check out some, like, before you're even worried about modeling anything, check out some tutorials on just how to use the interface, because there's a lot of hotkeys in Blender. I don't know if it's true for other programs, but I know it's true in Blender, and once you learn them, they're super useful. But if you don't know them, you don't know that you don't know them.
Yeah, not very intuitive and very intimidating.
I can't disagree.
Okay, all right. So one of my biggest gripes with Blender is, as a girl that loves to be organized, is that I have like a million planes over here, and if I were to ever try to like edit one, it like you don't know what flower it belongs to. And being that I want to make a flower crown, is there a way to like connect the flower, so like to make all my parts talk to each other and stay as one?
Okay, so that's actually, it's a great question, and it actually has two answers. One, which I don't think you considered, but since you said you like to be really organized, if you look on the top right of your screen, where you have all of those planes, it's kind of like the Roblox Explorer. This is your scene. So this is like, just like the Roblox Explorer, you can organize things in here. So what you can do is you can actually select all of the parts from one flower, which it looks like you have. And then with your hand, your cursor over the main window, if you hit the M key, it'll let you move things to a collection. Now you can send this to any collection you want. In your case, you can say new collection, and you might want to say like main flower or flower one or whatever. And then that'll move it into basically its own little folder. And if you find that in your Explorer, you might need to scroll down a smidge.
Oh, yeah,
There it is.
there it is.
You can actually,
yeah.
on the right, you can uncheck the box there and make it disappear. And the usefulness of that is you can have a bunch of different things in your scene, maybe some things you don't want to have shown. Like on mine, I've got backups here, which is one flower I did, and then I have main flower, which is very similar, but I can have two different versions. I don't have to get rid of my old version. I can have it there for reference, or I can like take things from it if I need it, but it's not in my way. So that's the first answer to your question.
Okay.
Now the second answer to your question, which is sort of maybe the more intuitive thing, is, or at least more what you'd expect to be doing, is how do I like take all of these flower petals and instead of having them be individual objects, how do I make them into one object? Which is really important, especially as you go along in your process. Almost always when you're making models, you're going to start out with, at least for Roblox, you're going to start out with multiple objects, and then as you get closer and closer to finishing your model, you're going to be combining these things all together, because when you export them, they all have to be one mesh. So for the flower petals, for instance, you can select all of these individually just by clicking, or if you have them all organized like you just did, you can select them all that way. And then the hotkey for that is just Control and J to join them together. And that makes them all into one object. Now you'll notice I didn't select and join in the bulb part of it. If I were to do that, that would either copy the modifiers, depending on which one you selected, or delete them from the flower petals.
And how is that different from like merging from the M that we did?
So M in object mode will change it to different folders. Those are not actually combining the objects at all, so they're keeping their individual object data, whereas when you hit Control and J, you're actually making them all one part. So now when I go into edit, I can edit all of the different flower petals together.
Okay, perfect.
But just be aware, you do have to be careful when you're joining things. You might not want to join everything all right away. Like I just joined the petals to the bulb. That doesn't look great. Sometimes you're going to want to have the bulb and the flower petals separate until you get later in the process.
Okay, gotcha. And so then because I want to make a flower crown with a lot of flowers, how would I go about without having to mess up if I merge the bulb and the petals? Would that be just like by clicking, like grabbing the whole flower and then just changing it like how you would?
So in this
down?
scenario, if you just wanted to practice, for instance, doing a bunch of flowers on the crown, what I would do is I would hit Control Z until you had that flower back in its original position. Control Z will undo things, so you can go back to the state you were in. And then just for practicing sake, why don't you select them all? The whole thing. Hit Control D to duplicate. Oh yeah, it would be Command D. Sorry, I'm on Windows. Actually, I use Linux. No, I don't. I'm tempted to, though. Windows has not been a friend to me. The hotkey is, it would be Command plus the D key.
It's not duplicating.
Maybe it might be Shift D by default?
Up D.
It's Shift D. My bad. It's Control D on Roblox, so welcome to the wonderful world of getting your different programs mixed up. Yeah. Okay, now you have a second one, and I would just combine those all together for now. You might have to left click. Not both flowers, but all the one flower.
Okay. Oh wait, I am.
That would be Control J, or if you right-click that menu, you can hit Join. It's in that same menu you have.
Whoa.
Ah! Okay, well, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Hit Control Z.
Okay. We're making a horror movie. Flower.
Yeah. Click on your petal. I think
Okay.
they're all together, aren't they? Not?
Yeah.
And you see on the side there, go in and apply your subdivision modifier. I think it's just Command A when you're hovering over it. I don't actually know if there's any other way to do it. There you go. Now you can combine them and it won't freak out like that.
Okay. Oh, yay!
So the reason I wanted you to do that is that you want to have your base flower, if you want to keep that to edit it later, you want to have that like somewhere that you don't have to worry about it getting messed up. So now that you have that flower you can edit, you can go ahead and drag it over your ring there, position it, and then duplicate another one and keep doing that until you have something you like.
Oh, okay.
Best practice, by the way,
Yeah.
for future files, which you'll probably do before you get to your final version, is to try and keep everything at the center of the scene, which is very unintuitive if you've done any like 3D modeling in like Roblox itself,
Okay.
because in Roblox, you're used to working in the full 3D space. In Blender, the intention is that you're going to be working on like a singular thing, at least in our case.
Okay.
Yeah, see, perfect. Yeah, get it as close as you can. You actually can hit Shift and S, or I guess Command S, and that will pop up with this interesting little wheelie thing, and then you can click. I think it should at least. Shift S. Is it?
Oh, there we go.
And you can hit selection to cursor, and that'll bring it to the middle of your scene.
Oh, cool. Okay.
You have to reposition the flower, but that's a small price to pay.
Yeah.
Reverse, tell her about locking transforms to axes. So she's not just dragging stuff around with G based off of the camera position.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I think it works better the way she's doing it for now. But yes, yeah.
All right, don't listen to me. Shut up, Josh. Just go back to being quiet.
Sometimes it's good to like. I don't know if you have my screen open. Sometimes it's good to just kind of.
Yes, I'm watching you. You're way faster.
Yeah, that's just from knowing all the hotkeys. Another thing that can help is if you double tap the R key, it will rotate it around the origin, though it looks like your origin might be a little out of place for your flowers, which we can fix real easy.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, just to explain what that means, the origin point for your model is where it's going to be rotating around. On my screen, you can see the flower like rotating around the center point because I made sure to keep the flower in the center point when I made it. But if you go to control, hold on, you'll actually have to go to object at the top of the screen there, next to add and select and all of that jazz. Not object mode, but the object drop down. And then go to set origin and then do volume, which is the bottom one. And now it should be in the center of your flower, and when you double tap R, it'll rotate around the middle part.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So yeah,
Perfect.
if you hold Shift, by the way, when you are panning the camera around, you should be able to slide it. I don't know actually how you're panning the camera around. I don't know if you're using a mouse or what your situation is.
A trackpad.
Yeah. I suggest getting a mouse.
I have a mouse, but I can't make it work as good as the trackpad.
Oh, well, I don't know what the middle mouse key on a trackpad would be, but that's how you normally move around the camera in Blender, is you use the middle mouse key.
Mine does this. It zooms in and out. Maybe it's a
but
setting in Blender?
can you click and see? I don't use a trackpad, and I haven't used a trackpad in years. Can you click and hold the middle mouse button? Is that like a thing, or can you only scroll?
Yeah.
If you do that and then you move your camera around, it'll move it around the center point where you're looking. And then if you hit Shift while you do it, you can pan the camera around. So kind of like I'm doing here.
Mine does not respond in that way.
This is the other fun about learning Blender is it's very different depending on the equipment you have, which is why I recommend for you and anyone listening, definitely check out a lot of different basic Blender tutorials. There's tons of stuff of just how to move around the camera. And it seems really intimidating, but once you learn it once, it becomes second nature really quickly, especially for the simple stuff. The more complicated things, like maybe, I don't know, making a chain of pearls for a necklace, that'll be a little more tricky, but we can get there. Okay, so this has been a fun little experiment in getting your flowers where you want them to be, but I know that these aren't quite the right shape that you want them to be, and before we turn it into a Roblox model, we're gonna have to do some stuff, some best practice things to get it under the triangle count, and make sure that it's within budget, and just ensure that you're going to get the product you want out of it, which will require us to start over, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But that's art. I think you should save this, keep it, save it to a file so that you can show everyone this was my first Blender model, years from now, like I did with my snowman. This is way better than my snowman, by the way. And then I would just start a completely new file, just to get everything out of the way. That's what happens when I end up in a scenario where I just don't like what I see. I just start a new version.
Okay.
And as every Blender Pro knows, you have to immediately delete the default cube, even if you're going to add in a default cube again, which we're not. Well, we could. Actually, honestly, we're going to want to. I would say that's probably the best place to start. Let me go ahead and I'm going to save this in my snowman folder. Flowers. We'll move that later. Let me start a new Blender file. Okay, so I think we should try to capture your vision as close as we can to what you want the flower to look like, and also make it in such a way that we know we're not going to be breaking the bank on triangle count. Triangle count, by the way, is just the number of triangles in your mesh. So each quad, which is a square of edges, will break down into 2 triangles. Okay. And so I'll show you how to look at those here in a minute, but let's just get started by, instead of doing what we did last time, or what you did last time, which is adding in a UV sphere, which is just that's a ton of triangles right there, that's 960. We're just going to add in a default cube. You do have to delete it first and then add in a new one. That's and then we're going to want to go to our Modifiers tab, which is the little wrench, and add in our subdivision modifier. And that's going to be the center of our flower, which I know it'll look a real bulky, but if you right-click and you go to Auto Smooth, and then there's going to be a pop-up here. You're going to want to type 180 in that window that just popped up and hit Enter. We'll get a smoother bulb. We might come back to make this look nicer later. This is just a good start. And I'll go ahead and show you how to do this now as well. One thing that is not on by default, which is really frustrating for Roblox artists, is the statistics page. So I've got statistics up in the top left corner for mine, but you don't have any on yours, which is a bummer. So what you have to do is, at the top of your screen, on the right side, there is a circle with another circle overlapping it. It's kind of next on the right side, a little further to the left in the scene. Yeah, but it's the one where it's the white circle with the other circle intersecting it. It's called overlays. That's not helpful for me to explain where it is. Yeah.
This one?
Three dots to the left. It's the little drop down.
Okay.
You want to hit the little arrow next to it, actually. And then in that, under text info, right under the scale, is statistics. Just check that statistics box.
Okay.
And now you can see in the top left, it says 48. So that's 48 triangles for one bulb. And now we're going to do our flower petals. And then once we do our flower petals, we get them the shape we want and duplicate them, we'll kind of have an idea of how much one flower is going to cost, and then we'll know how many flowers we can put on the crown.
Okay.
So start by adding a plane. You're going to want to... pro tip, by the way, you usually don't want to move an object outside of its origin point. So we may want to move this flower petal, but we want to do that in edit mode, not in object mode.
Okay.
So you can move it X or Y, doesn't matter in edit mode. But you want to move it a little ways away from the bulb.
Okay.
Where is your references? Here we are. Also, another pro tip, if you have two screens, I recommend always having your references on one of them so you can kind of like look back and forth between your model and your references. So you want to have a very low poly flower here. So a great way of doing that is to keep the geometry really simple. And it...
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
If you don't have room for it, it's fine. That's just generally good advice for anyone if they can manage to have it. I think you can probably. So we want to shrink these points down. That's going to be the base of our flower. It's going to hide in the bulb, and then we want to also do that with this one here. Now, we could use, which you're going to want to extrude that with E, so that you have two planes. And make sure to hit X when you do that, so it doesn't get.
Oh.
Because I think you might have drug it off.
Yeah, it looked like it did.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people would use a subdivision modifier in this case to get sort of the shape they want, and we can go that route if it's easier, but for me, I'm looking at the hibiscus flower. I want it to be like as close as I can have it, but also keep my triangle count low. So what I would do is I would just start adding geometry myself until I get it the way I want it to go. So what I did there is hit Control R or Command R. That'll let you add in an edge loop. There you go, and then you can just click that in the middle. And then right click to get it to center. And now we have all of the vertices we need, I think, to get the shape you want. So after that, it's just all about selecting vertices, dragging them. Oh, it looks like you accidentally made an extra.
Yeah. Wait. How did I do that?
I don't know. Welcome to Blender. Hit X and just hit delete vertices. You might accidentally have... oh no, not on that one. On the middle one. I don't know what's going on. Hit Control Z and just hit G and X for me really quickly. Oh, nope. On the middle vertice. The one at the top.
Oh, the one at the top.
Okay, good. It isn't broken. Yeah, so you can just drag that. Also, I suggest hitting the 7 key on the numpad, if you have a numpad, to go to the top-down view. That way you can get the shape exactly how you want. Oh, yeah, there you go. You have that nifty tool. I have that disabled. So yeah, with the picture of the hibiscus flower in your head, I would go ahead and just like get the shape kind of rounded like that. It'll be a little pointy.
Wait.
How are you dragging it down?
I don't know.
How did that happen?
I did the same thing. Wait, okay.
That's weird. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I'm moving things, I'm almost always, so here's the thing. If you get the top-down view with the button you hit there before, you shouldn't be able to drag it off the axis. If you hit G now, you should only be able to drag it on the plane you're looking at, unless if you hit an axis button. Okay. So, yeah, I would just manually move these into kind of the shape you want. And then we're going to want to add a little more geometry because it's looking a little pointy. So the way you can do that is we could do the edge loop thing we did before, but another way you can do that is if you select, if you go to edge select, which is at the top left, you see like the dot, the edge, and the face on the bar. If you hit the edge select key, there you go, that one. Then you can select both of the edges in the middle. And then if you hit Control or Command and B, that'll bevel those. How in the world? Is that default now? I have my things set up differently. Well, here, notice how it says vertices there? Select edges. Yeah. It won't. You want edges, not vertices. I don't know why that defaults that way. And you can play around on that menu down on the left with like the width and stuff. You just drag that to be whatever you want. And I think that looks pretty good. In fact, I think yours looks better than mine. I'm trying to replicate yours.
Thank you. I didn't think this would happen.
So yeah, I think that's pretty good. And you'll see in the top left there, it says 12 triangles. That's fantastic. That means if we have 5 triangles there, it's going to be like, or 5 petals, it's going to be like 60 triangles. Okay. That's not bad at all. For reference, on hats, the triangle limit is 4,000.
4,000, okay.
Yeah, so this is how you squeeze a lot out of a little. Now, the only thing left to do, I think, is to make sure your flower has some dimension. So whenever I do flowers, you can keep them static like this, but your flower is going to look a little flat. So what I like to do is I like to take the edges in the middle and hit the G key and just drag them up until I get like this nice curve going on. So if you hit G and Z at the same time, there you go. That'll lock it to going up. And then just do the same thing with the other one, and you'll get this nice curvy flower.
Cool.
All right. And now all that's left to do is I would hit the A key, drag all of these into like close to the middle of the flower, and that will be your first flower petal. What you've done there is you've hit G twice.
Yeah.
If you just right-click and stop doing that, right-clicking will stop doing any action, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You can just hit G and X. Yeah, I've often accidentally hit G twice and then been like, what's happening? What is this? So yeah, now you have a nice looking flower petal. If there's any adjustments you want to make before duplicating it, now would be the time. You can kind of picture what this is going to look like.
Yes, I like it. If we make it thicker, like an actual petal, will that add triangles?
Yes. So what we have right now is we don't have any back faces to this. If you want to make it thicker, we can do that. In fact, I think that's not a bad idea.
What's a back face?
What's a back face?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. This is something that I take for granted. I think a lot of modelers take for granted when they're working on objects, because once you know it, it just kind of fades into the background of your knowledge. But if you pan to the bottom side of your flower, and I don't know why this is off by default, but if you were to export this right now, you wouldn't see the bottom side of your flower. And the way you can know that is on the top, next to all of those 3 little circles you were near before, there's a little drop-down arrow all the way to the right. And in options, you're going to want to select backface culling, which should be on by default. I don't know why it's not. Oh, I don't think you clicked it.
Wait, I think I did my flower backwards.
Wait. Go back up to that. Oh yeah, you did. Okay. That's fine. We can flip the normals. That's really easy. But for whatever reason, that's not on by default, and I don't know why. So just select all of your flower. You can hit the A key to select everything, by the way. And then hit the N key, or maybe it's Alt-N. It's Alt-N. Hotkeys. So hard to remember. And then after you hit Alt-N, it'll pop up with like a normals menu.
Oh, no. Wait. For Mac, we would want...
Do Macs have the Alt key? Oh, you have to have everything selected.
Oh.
Sorry, I've never
There we
used
go.
Macs.
That's okay.
And then you want to hit
then
flip.
Flip.
And now you won't be able to see the bottom of the flower petal, but you will be able to see the top. Of course, it's generally considered to be bad practice to leave your mesh empty like this. So we can go ahead and seal it up. This is the way I would do it. It's going to result in something that looks a little strange, but I think it's better this way. So what you're going to want to do is select all of the edges around your flower, but not the middle ones. You can select them all and then deselect the middle ones.
Wait.
That would be Shift and left click will select multiple or deselect as well. Now, if you hit the E key, you will do something called extruding, which will bring out those. That's what you want. Just right click to have those go back to their default origin point. That works too. That's fine.
Okay.
And now if you hit the X key, it'll pop up with like a delete menu. If you go down to the bottom of that, you can hit collapse edges and faces, and that'll bring all of that to one point. So now your flower has a bottom to it. Now in Blender, this is going to look a little funky, but once you actually export it, it'll look all right.
Okay.
But really quickly, I want to teach you, this is really important for every modeler to know about shading and how to make that flower petal look sharp. If you hit the Tab key to go back into object mode, you'll notice that your flower is looking a little flat. If you right click and hit auto smooth like we did earlier for the sphere, it'll look smooth, but now it looks weird. So the way we remedy that is, once again, we select all of the edges like we had before in edit mode. Pro tip, by the way, Alt or maybe Command will let you select an entire side when you left click.
Okay.
And now you're going to want to hit Control E and go to Mark Sharp.
Mark Sharp.
And now you have a really nice looking flower petal if you go back into object mode.
Wow.
Now, once again, you've moved an object in object mode, which you don't
oh my
want to do.
gosh.
But wait, don't undo it. Wait.
Okay.
I'll show you how to fix this if this ever occurs. Because now you'll see that little orange dot, that's your flower petal's origin point. And if you were to rotate it with the hit R and Z, you'll notice it's going to be rotating around that orange dot, not around the center of your flower.
Yeah.
So you don't want that. So if you right click, it'll go back to where it was, and then hit Command A or Control A, and you should be able to apply location, and that'll put it back into the center.
Oh, cool.
Boom. So that always puts it back in the center of your scene. And like I said, you want to keep stuff in the center of your scene so that you can do exactly that. So now it's just a simple process. Oh wait, I almost forgot. And this is something you'll regret later if you don't remember to do it. It's great to have this unwrapped. So if you go to edit mode, and then select everything with A, and then put your camera from the top-down view with the 7 key, or yeah, you can click the dot there, and then you go into UV editing, which is to the right. There it is, just up above the next row up.
Right.
Next to that, there you go. Oh man, it reset your camera angle. You're gonna have to get back to the camera angle you were at on the right there. I don't know why it does that. And then when you hit U, you can unwrap it in the other window. Where your cursor is, by the way, does change what's going to pop up. So you need to have your cursor in the other window over your flower. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you hit U from this window, you can do project from view. There's different ways to unwrap things we might get to later, but for now, projecting from view gives you a nice little flower petal. Now, strangely, it did not appear there on the side, and I don't know why it doesn't.
Oh.
She deselected it.
Oh.
I have my... it looks like you didn't unwrap it quite right, so you might have to do that process again.
Wait,
the U key is what you're looking for.
Unwrap.
Project from view. Perfect.
Oh, there we go.
Now we can go back to the default page. We don't have to worry about that until later.
Okay.
This is just good practice to get it set up because you're going to be duplicating the same flower petal, and you want them all to have the same unwrap. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess of a texture. It's going to be a huge pain.
Okay.
That's one way to do it. You laugh, but we all start out doing it that way from time to time.
Go back to the other tab.
You can go back to the other tab.
No, the top left. We're saying under UV editing. Go to layout, like 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
I have an anecdote that is too long to share, but let's just say that there's much worse things you can do than that.
Okay.
No, Vaughn, the UV editing tab, it's designed to have both windows. So by squishing one, you're basically duplicating the layout window and getting rid of the value of the UV editing tab.
Okay, didn't know that.
I do it all the time.
That's the fun thing about Blender is you can have it whatever way you want. There's no right and wrong way. Actually, there's just mostly wrong ways. But that's the fun of Blender.
Okay.
So yeah, from then on, personally, I would bring your flower petal in a little bit. But that's like a personal decision, up to you in edit mode. I like to have my flower like right in the center almost. The origin of it, anyways. There you go. That's gonna look good. Now in object mode, we can hit Control D or Shift D. Sorry. Again, Roblox hotkeys, and then hit R, and then the Z key. Or actually, if you're looking from top down, so you don't even need to hit the Z key in that case, and then you can just position that wherever you want. And then you just do that a bunch of times, and you got yourself an amazing, beautiful, wonderful, low poly flower.
Woo!
All right, now you have almost a completed beautiful flower. We've unwrapped the flower petals, which is great, but now we have to finish the bulb of the flower. So what you want to do is select that. You'll notice that the flowers that you made, we didn't use a subsurf modifier on, but the bulb we did. At this point, we want to get everything to be on the same level as far as fidelity is concerned, so we don't want a subsurf modifier. So at this point, we can just apply that as long as you're okay with the way the bulb looks there.
Yeah.
So you just go over to the modifier tab, and while you are hovering over the subdivision modifier, which is the one above that, you can hit Control A or Command A, and that will apply it. Now, I personally, when I make stuff like, because I've made a flower crown before, and when I did that, I like to keep the bottom of the bulb. It ensures that from like different angles it still has some depth to it, because when you place it on the crown, your petals won't be touching the crown exactly. So I like to keep it that way, but you can always, if you find that you don't want it, you can always like delete the bottom and like fill it in. But either way, the unwrap for this is the same, and we want to make sure that everything's unwrapped and ready to go for you. So go into edit mode. And now if you look at your bulb from the side, there's like one edge that goes all the way around the thing. Now, you might have a hard time seeing this. Actually, this is a good place for a tip as well. If you go back out into object mode, and you select the flower petals, you can hit the H key, and that will hide them. And then you can edit your bulb, and then when we want those back, you can hit Alt and H, and that'll bring them back. You can also hit them on the window over there. There's like little eyeballs. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Now
Perfect.
you can go into your sphere. And what you want to do is select all the edges around one side. If you hit Alt and left click, it should select them all around in a ring. Yeah, there you go. You got them all selected. Then you're going to want to mark the seam. The hotkey for that is Control and E, or Command and E. And then it should pop up with a menu called Edge, and then you just mark seam. Now, if we go back into the UV editing tab at the top, we hit A to select everything on the right window. And then you hit the U key. You can, instead of projecting from view this time, we've marked a seam. So that red thing basically tells the program, hey, when you unwrap this, it's split it in half. And so you can just hit unwrap at the very... Your menu is different from mine. I think unwrapped angled base is what you want.
Okay.
Yes. Can you pan your camera down on the right window?
Oh, I didn't select
You don't
all.
have everything selected.
Hang on.
Hit the A key. And you can hit A twice to deselect everything too, if you ever want to do that. Now try unwrapping again.
Okay.
Because you unwrapped the one side,
Yeah.
but not the other. There you go.
Perfect.
Now we're going to want to go back out into object mode. It'll be... Yeah, okay. Unhide the flowers with Alt-H. And now everything you have is selected, and hit Control-J to join them all into the same object.
All right.
Great. Now we have one step left before we get to texturing. So we want to go back to UV layout. And some people hate this, and some people love it. I personally love it. Select all of the things in the right window with the A key, so you can have all of the UVs up. And now you're going to want to position your different parts here. So I find the best way to select things is to hit the C key, and that'll bring up a circle. And so, like, grab all of the vertices on your flower petal. And now, just like when you're editing objects, you can hit G to move that around and S to scale it. You might have to right-click to get out of the circle tool. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Now, since the flower petal is going to be like a major part of your thing, I would say like scale that up until it takes up about 2/3 of that box. You might want to zoom out your window a bit. And I would move it up to the top of the screen too. There you go. And you can overlap, for now, you can overlap these UVs.
Oh, yeah?
So like I would drag it so it's even over the top circle there.
Okay.
And then scale it up so it like takes up the entire top half, essentially. Just hit Z and you'll... Control Z undoes selections in Blender too, so if you hit Control Z enough, you'll get back to just having the flower selected. Probably. There you go.
Okay.
And S to scale. There you go. Now you're going to want to select the parts of the bulb to rearrange those. So you can just click on one vertice and then hit Control or Command and L. That will select everything that's linked to that. So everything that is part of that, it will select. And I would scale that down a little bit. And then I would select the other one. And then hit Control L. And then scale that down a bit. And then I'd select both of them and kind of arrange them somewhere on the scene. If I were you, I would leave, like, since the middle part of the flower isn't that big of a deal, I would leave plenty of space. So that's like a perfect spot right there. And then do the other one on the other side. And bada bing, bada boom. Now, you have more that you're going to have in your flower crown. So at this stage, we don't have the ring of the flower crown itself, so we want to leave room on the UV. But from here, you can launch right into texturing, which I actually kind of suggest doing. At this point, you could texture your flower and make it look pretty.
Okay.
And if only we had someone who
How would I do
knew
that?
how to teach
I don't
us
know how
to
to
do
do
that.
that.
Texturing 101.
Yay!
So this was a pretty good start, I would say, for a beginner. You've come a long ways, and you're just at the point where you need to take this across the finish line. What that looks like now, your next steps, the important things for you to do, is you are going to have to, and I suggest doing it in this order. You're going to have to get a Roblox character in your scene so that you know how to position things. And then you're going to want to put your wreath or ring or crown around the head, and then duplicate and position your flowers so that it looks exactly the way you want it to look.
It can be a little bit intimidating, but you got this. I think that I love your vision. I think you've got a great direction, and I think you're doing great. So as the first time, if I were to give this a letter grade, I think it would be like a B.
Yay!
Like, it's very impressive for your first time around. Like, I could not have done this. And I'm excited to see what you do next week.